German Chancellor Angela Merkel is one of the many leaders attending hastily arranged talks in Brussels. The meeting is a prelude to the summit that's taking place next week that will be looking for new ways to tackle the continent's biggest influx of migrants since the Second World War. Dominic LeBlanc is watching this story for us from London. So, Dominic, what, if anything, do we expect to be achieved at today's meeting?
Well, Natasha, I don't think we can expect a great deal to come out of this meeting today. It's not a summit, it's not even a mini summit. In fact, it's being billed as an informal working meeting, and not everyone will be attending either. Poland, the Czech Republic, Slovakia and Hungary have already said they won't be taking part. Indeed, they have long refused to take in asylum seekers from holding centres in other EU states. That said, the Prime Ministers and Ministers of at least 17 EU countries are at today's meeting. And when it comes to migration and the divisions that it is causing in Europe, there is certainly plenty to discuss. A key issue, though, is how much should frontline countries such as Greece and Italy be expected to do when migrants arrive at their borders, and how should that burden be shared with neighbouring EU countries fairly? Now, although the numbers of migrants entering the EU is down on previous years, the issue is really under the spotlight at the moment. There is a newish Italian government that's tough on immigration, a German coalition government that now appears divided on the issue, and of course the recent controversies surrounding the Aquarius migrant rescue ship as well. As I say, not a lot expected to come out of this meeting today. Rather, it's hoped it will help lay the groundwork, pave the way for next week's big EU summit, which is also in Brussels, at which migration will be high on the agenda. Natasha.
So then what do we anticipate are going to be the key talking points at today's meeting?
Well, a number of things will be on the table, on the agenda. There are likely to be discussions, for example, centred on the so-called Dublin regulation. That's the European Union's rule that says refugees should be considered for asylum in the first safe country that they arrive in. There will be discussions, too, about the level of checks that should be done to work out if someone is indeed a refugee entitled to asylum, i.e. they're escaping persecution or violence in their home countries, or if they are an economic migrant who is not entitled. There are likely to be discussions as well about how to deal with so-called secondary movements. That's migrants who move from country to country. But quota systems for sharing the burden equally, the potential for setting up asylum centres in third countries outside the EU, and the role of charitable search and rescue operations at sea, like the Aquarius, will also be big talking points. So there is plenty to discuss. The current way of doing things, most agree here in Europe, is simply not working. The EU is pushing for a solution to all this by the end of this month, perhaps rather ambitiously. Today's meeting and next week's big summit in Brussels are steps towards finding that solution.